Hello, welcome to Topper Machine. I'm Josh Topper. So we're at the radial drill today, and I've got some bars laid out that we sawed up. And what we're going to be doing is drilling and tapping and counterboring and building a fixture table that bolts onto this existing table here at the radial drill for drilling these big plates that are right here. So I just quickly laid this out how I kind of want it. We're going to utilize the T-slots and then clamp this one, so we'll drill 2 holes for the where we'll hook to the T-slots, and then these bars will drill and countersink or counterbore, and then drill and tap into this bar and bolt this all together. This will be a removable fixture table. So let's take this over to the Bridgeport. We'll do all the drilling over there since we got the digital readout. We'll be able to lay out these holes. They'll be diagonal from each other on each one, and that'll give it the most stability. Okay, so because this is just a fixture table for the radial drill and we're not going for super accuracy, I'm just going to lay this out with my square here and a scribe, and we'll just mark a line. This is just for the T-nuts to bolt it all down. We'll mark both ends. We're going to cut right about there, 1 inch in, and then we're going to do that on both of these rails. All right, I'm just going to drill this right through with my big drill here. You know, there's no point in drilling a pilot hole. Just feed a little bit softer. So you run slow speeds. That's 210 RPM right there. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to just bring it down, touch it on my line, and just roughly see where center is. And just line her up nice. We've got a nice mark there where we're on our line. We're just going to use a little of our anchor lube here, and we'll start drilling. So the material we're using here is 1.5 inch by 4 hot rolled flat, A36, and this will be perfect for everything I'm going to use this table for. Like I said, this job came in and I thought this is a good time to actually build this. All right, we'll just move it down and drill the second hole. Okay, so I got these rails drilled and bolted down. They're actually affixed. I trued everything up, squared them, made sure everything is right. And then I laid my first piece up here to figure out my hole placement. And that's going to be the key to the whole project, is getting these holes right. And then what we'll do is we'll transfer punch. We'll drill these on the Bridgeport and then transfer punch them onto this piece, and then drill these on the radial drill and tap them. And then we can start putting it all together. This is gonna be nice having this. So I got my rails drilled and bolted down to the table where I want them. Everything is squared up, trued up. to the table, so this will be pretty straightforward. I got my rail on here, and I got it equal distance, both sides. So now I need to figure out my hole placement, and then we'll just drill these on the Bridgeport to the 5/8 for the 5/8 bolts I'm going to use, and then we'll transfer punch onto the rails here so that everything is accurate, and then we'll drill and tap those. But we'll go ahead and get this all figured out, roughly what we're doing, and start drilling. Okay, so here's my rough sketch. I'm 16 inches to the edge of the rail that's bolted to the table. So I'm going to drill my first hole at 17 inches, 1 inch from this edge, and then we'll drill this one at 19 inches, 1 inch from that edge, or 3 inches from this edge, and then we'll figure out the distance to this one, and drill these the same to match at a diagonal pattern. And then we'll drill all three rails the same. Okay, so we're gonna lay out our distance from the end for our first hole, because we don't have enough travel on the Bridgeport here. And this would actually be an excellent boring mill job, except the boring mill is set up with another big job. All right, so I got my line laid out. We'll get it in the vise, and then the next thing we're gonna do is set up a support on the back end here, because we're going to drill all this in one operation, and we don't want it sitting or dropping down. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a couple of machinist jacks under there, one on either side, just so it can't tip either, and just snug them up just enough to hold it. All right, I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm just going to find the location of my hole just by touching off. And just making a mark in my line and centering it up. And zero my readout. All right, and this is a 5/8 drill running 210 RPM yet, just same as we drilled the 13/16. And yeah, looking good. Move over 2 inches. And then back 2 inches to 3 inches. And drill our second hole. All right, now if my calculations are right, we'll move to our next hole that's 14 inches down. All right, and these should be symmetrical, so I'm going to measure the distance from the end here to the inside hole, which is 19 inches. And then let's see where I'm at for the inside hole. 19 inches. So perfect. We're right on. We can go ahead and start drilling these. Well, let's pull it out of here and go see if it fits. Perfect, just like it should. One down, two to go. So there they are, all laid out, and I changed my mind on transfer punching and drilling these. What I'm going to do instead is I'm actually going to take my Sharpie and just make a mark in each hole, just so I know roughly where they're going to be, so it's, you know, I'm correct, so I don't flip something around, be doing something dumb. And then I've got it all measured out where everything goes. I'm going to take it over to the Bridgeport and we'll drill and tap all these on the Bridgeport so we know they're accurate. All right, you can just see my marks on every one. That'll help me judge roughly where it needs to be when I'm in the mill, and then I'll just do the fine tuning and get everything just right on the mill. Okay, so I got it all clamped in the vise. I got my edge finder in here. I'm gonna find my first edge. And then I move it over half of my edge finder, which is a 1/4 inch. We'll go over 1 inch for our first hole. And then if you can see my marker mark there is my first hole, so we go out to 3 inches. Okay, so I'm running 325 RPM now. This is a 1732 drill for tapping 5/8 11. Go ahead and put a little anchor lube in our hole there. Okay, the first 2 holes are drilled. We'll move it down to the next 2. And here's my marker mark, so we'll drill that. Okay, so I got those drilled. My last 2 holes are way out here. I don't know if I have enough travel. We're gonna find out, and if we don't, then I'm gonna show you a little trick that you can use to get those last holes. All right, here goes nothing. Two inches short, so we're gonna have to do that trick. Okay, you can see I brought the drill back to our starting point, or maybe a little past. And what I'll do here is I'll unclamp it in the vise, and I'll move it down. Now, because this isn't a super precision thing, this is 100% acceptable. And now all I'm going to do is line up my drill in that hole. I don't want it to rub, I don't want it to touch. And I can work with that, zero my readout, and then I'll move her over to my next holes. All right, well, this one's done. I'll go get the other one, get that one drilled up, and then we'll do the tapping and then do a quick fit up, make sure everything works, and then we'll counterbore the other pieces. All right, I'm over here at the radial drill. I got them all clamped down to the table. We're gonna be able to do just a little, the first 2 sets of bolts, and then we'll have to flip them around and do the other 2. But I got my tap up here in the tap holder, or got our anchor lube. We'll just put a little on and we'll go ahead and tap these holes. All right, well, those 8 holes are tapped. I'll go ahead, spin them around, and tap the other 4, and then we'll be ready to start counterboring the other bars. All right, so what I've got here is a piloted counterbore. It has an interchangeable pilot, so it goes down in the hole to guide it. And this is a little bit bigger than the head of the bolt that I'm using, because this is what I have on hand. And I didn't want to spend the money to buy a counterbore just for this size, just for this project. So we're just going to use what I have. We're going to go in deep enough to clear the head, and that's it. that looks about perfect. We are just below flush. That will be absolutely perfect. So we'll go with that. We'll get the rest of these counterbored. There's our finished depth. So 2 down, 6 more on this bar and 4 more on the other bar, so 10 to go. All right, get that last bar up here and get that one done. And there's the last counterboard. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and get everything cleaned up and then we'll start the assembly of this thing. All right, I got her all cleaned up. Let's get started on the assembly and see what I screwed up. Well, that was quite a big build that came out really well. A lot of material in this. That was over 300 pounds of bar stock just to build this addition to the table. It'll allow me to hold things better, bigger things easier, especially this AR plate that I've got to drill, which will probably be next week's video, drilling and countersinking AR 500. And we're going to do it all on this fixture table here. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoyed this build. I'm glad it turned out as well as it did. And until next time, get out in your shop and get it done right the first time.